Hey, everybody. It's episode 13, our Veteran of the Month. We got Mr. Wayne Pickrell. Um, Great stories about to come your way. I hope you're excited about it. Again, thanks for all the support for the Forgiven Soldier podcast. If you haven't yet checked it out, our Patreon account, if you have questions, let me know. But you can go to Patreon, you can join the squad, the Forgiven Soldier squad. We got our own little private group on Facebook as well. Every dollar that you spend goes toward this podcast, making it better. Camera, lights, microphones, community events. We got a big one coming up. We'll talk about it a little bit later. I want to thank my sponsors, Midtown Music, Drew Odd out there at Midtown, my wife, Sarah Basham, Bling and Boutique. Actually, I'm looking at it right now. She got a lot of cool stuff. Check her out on Thursdays. She goes live. If any of you want to be a sponsor of the show, it doesn't cost much, I promise you. And every bit of it goes back to the podcast. Reach out to me. Let me know. Enjoy the show.
You are forgiven soldier. Tell my story, share my glory. The path you take will lead you home. You are forgiven, don't fight no more.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Forgiven Soldier podcast. Eventually it's going to get to the point where I don't have to introduce ourselves and they'll just know who we are. But for right now, I'm Brian.
Travis.
Wayne
right there. So we did this last month with my father, Master Sergeant Howard Basham. This is the Veteran of the Month. Mr. Wayne comes from us. He's got amazing stories. We just got done talking. We should have recorded everything we just got done talking about because it's amazing. So we're going to try to reenact it and have him tell it again. So Travis, you know Wayne. How do you know Wayne?
I met Wayne when I got into recovery.
Okay.
So we have in recovery what we call sponsors, kind of like a mentor, somebody who takes you through the 12 steps. Well, Wayne is actually, I guess, my grand sponsor. Sponsor, his sponsor was Wayne.
Got it.
So I get into recovery and I'm starting to meet people and I'm trying to stick to the ones that are taking their recovery serious.
Yes.
Right, because that's
stick with the winners.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and so I got around the recovery community, and I heard people, "Have you met Wayne yet? Have you met Wayne yet?" Like he was this.
So everybody was asking if you met Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, "No, man, I haven't met Wayne, but I'm almost nervous to meet him now because everybody keeps asking me, "Have you met Wayne yet?" Oh. So, anyways, I finally met Wayne, and he had this glow about him, man. The way he sees things is different than almost anybody I've ever met. And you'll see that when he starts talking in a minute. But really look up to him in the recovery community. He's helped tons of people. I know that. Works with some of the toughest of the tough people really struggling with addiction, alcoholism. He's been my yoga teacher.
So is this the guy that we're going to get the yoga video from?
Sure. Yeah, I'm telling
So we're talking Paul. He's not here tonight. Shout out to Paul P Dizzle. Today's Monday, ain't it?
Yeah.
Willie P.
Willie P.
It's
today.
only Tuesday we get to call him P Dizzle.
That's right.
Or P Shizzle. Sorry, Paul. But we were talking because Travis is really big into yoga, and I'm a bigger guy, right? Never done yoga, and but I want to try because this podcast, Travis talking about it and how he finds his zen and his peace, kind of helps with that. So I'm intrigued. But being a big guy, never doing yoga, it's going to be funny because I'm going to fall a lot and I'll probably get hurt. Do you get hurt in yoga?
You can, but not if somebody's showing you the ropes.
I've pulled a few muscles.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like a big guy, I think it'd be...
Hey, I
think it'd be
big
funny.
when I started.
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Big people can do some stuff that smaller people can.
I mean, the first day, though, like when you learn yoga the first day.
Well, if you got a good teacher, you just go slow. And the yoga mat You just do what you can do on the yoga mat and don't worry about anybody else.
For sure.
You know,
All I'm saying is I was going to bring a camera because you never know what you're going to find. But anyway.
We could get some good footage there. But I think what he's saying is right. It's the yoga is the opposite of, you're not competing. It's just you and your mat doing, and you just kind of do what you can do, and then over time you realize, man, I'm getting,
yeah, because you learn about yourself. How you are on a yoga mat is how you are out here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how you are out here is how you are on a yoga mat. So you get to study yourself. One of the 8 limbs of yoga, one of the yamas, niyamas, is self-study, discipline, fire, heat, and study yourself. So you get to study yourself. You might be in a pose and quit breathing, and you probably quit breathing out here and there. And so if you catch yourself not breathing, then good, now breathe. Breathe in and out through your nose unless cued to breathe through your mouth.
That's one thing. I mean, being asthmatic, breathing became like when I was younger, I didn't really. You don't really focus on your breathing because it's gonna happen, right? You breathe in, you breathe out. It's just normal. But as an asthmatic, you learn to concentrate on your breathing, which is a weird thing because I've never really concentrated on breathing in and then breathing out and testing it, see what level I am. So I kind of get what you're saying. Like in yoga, you got to concentrate. You got to concentrate so much on your breathing,
Right?
And you can almost control your heart rate by your breathing. Like you can slow it way down or speed it up. So
and really your mind. It's like I told Brian or Paul one of these times we were talking about yoga. You put your body in these stressful situations, right, with yoga. And you focus on your breath, and you keep bringing your attention back to your breath, and you're moving with your breath. So now when life gets stressful and I'm out here and something happens where I'm feeling that stress, I find myself focusing on my breath. And when I do that, my mind's calm. When my mind's calm, I make better decisions. So it's like, it's a method for life, really.
yeah.
Yeah, imagine a dispatcher getting a 911 call, and the person on the other end of the line's freaking out, and they tell them, take a deep breath, calm down, what's the address? Well, that's the way we are in society. People walking around with anxiety, all they got to do is take a nice deep breath. It helps calm down. The brain needs oxygen. Yeah. So I see yoga as kind of like, say you were threading a needle, and you're going to maybe hold your breath and try to get the thread through the little hole in the needle. It would be better if you could just breathe and thread the needle. Now that would be good, and that's yoga.
Man, that voice.
That's good.
That voice is good, man. So, so you're in Vietnam. How long did you serve? You're a Marine. First off, you're a Marine, right? Simplify.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your service. I've known,
Right
I know a lot of Marines now, and when you're young and a punk, I joined the Army, and it's like, you talk about other services. We've talked about this before. Like you make jokes about the Marines, and you make jokes about the Navy, man.
Yeah.
But once you're out and you're a veteran, you kind of bond, right?
Yeah.
Like you eventually ask what service they're in, but once you find out somebody's a veteran, you don't really care.
Yeah.
He could be in the Coast Guard or the Navy, and you got that bond, that military. You kind of wrote that blank check, right? For your country.
Yeah.
But it's really cool because you walk around, like I walk around now and people call me veteran and all this stuff. But as a Marine, they still call you a Marine. Like it never changes.
Yeah.
Once a Marine, always a Marine. Right?
Yeah.
And there's such a brotherhood in the Corps that is unmatched by any other service. So first off, thank you for that. But yeah, let us know.
Likewise, thank you.
Oh, I appreciate it.
So when did you let's start from the beginning here with your military. Like when did you decide you were going to go to the military, and how did that go?
Well, I've always been a spur of the moment type person. I didn't premeditate this by any means. As a kid growing up, not having a dad, and we finally got a black and white television. I was born in 1948, And so, watching that crazy thing, and it was kind of impressive to see the shows, the soldiers coming home from war and confetti out the window and singing songs when Johnny comes marching home again, and girls coming up and kissing them. And I thought, yeah, I'd take some of that. And, I was kind of a rebellious person. I didn't do good in school. I failed the first grade. I didn't like school. I had a lot of anxiety. My dad was an alcoholic. He died when I was a deuce, and he was 37. And he was deep in the throes of alcoholism. So I think he kind of etched me before we got out of here with a little trauma. So you grow up in that trauma frame of mind, and you don't know it. And, everything's just weird. So in the trauma literature that I read, they say when you're traumatized, you disconnect from your body, which means you live in your head. And that's the way I was in school. I couldn't hear what the teachers were saying because I had my own dialogue going. I was looking out the window. I was daydreaming. I didn't like it here, and I was scared. And anyway, you start getting a little comfortable. Out of all the school system, my best subject was recess. I loved to play. And so I got kicked out of Boy Scouts. When I graduated 8th grade, there was a little note in there saying I had to go to summer school. I got kicked out of Catholic High when I was a junior, and I graduated senior high, and I was in trouble. And I used to get in trouble. I started drinking when I was 14 and all that, and because I didn't do good in the daytime world, but I excelled at nightlife. And anyway, I got in trouble with the law, and for strong arm robbery, me and 2 other cats was out rolling one night, and it just seemed like the thing to do. And one thing led to another, and one of them come from money, so if they let one go, they let everybody go. And the person that we were robbing was a really nice guy. He was a doctor, super nice guy. He helped people like us all the time. And even though this is a Commonwealth state, Kentucky, they didn't press it. And I had a senior class with a guy named Charles Ray, and he said, man, let's join the Marine Corps. And I wanted to do something with my life. I wanted to straighten up, and it was the thing to do. And so right out of high school, 2 weeks after we graduated high school, I was in boot camp down at Paris Island, getting a culture shock. And I remember the DI came up on the bus, Trailway bus, and he said, my name is Staff Sergeant Harrah, Harrah frontwards and Harrah backwards, and your ass is mine. Get out of here, get them yellow footprints. And that rebellious nature in me, I was the last person off the bus, and they said, if you got any candy, pokey bait, leave it in the seat and all that. And I lit up my last cigarette, and I stepped off that bus, and he smacked that cigarette out of my mouth. And that was it. That was it. Wow. So that's how I got in there. And, graduated boot camp, man, I was proud, I was strong. Because the Marine Corps boot camp, they ground you in the here and now, So you stare at the head in front of you, and when they holler left, you better be digging that left heel in. And so, when you graduate, you were grounded in the moment.
Yeah.
And, you don't know what you got, and you're off. You're off to kill or be killed and serve your country. It was a great feeling.
Yeah.
Great feeling. Patriotic, you're doing something positive with your life. So that was 1967, and I got to Vietnam November 15th, 1967. Me and the guy I joined with, we joined on a buddy system, and we went through boot camp, ITR, California, Tijuana. We went to Tijuana. Anyway.
By the look of your face, that's another story.
Yeah, we don't want to go there.
I've heard stories about Tijuana.
Yeah, you can learn a lot in Tijuana. You can learn a lot about going anywhere in the world in Tijuana in 2 hours. So
that's our next podcast, Tijuana.
So you were only 19 years old by the time you went to Vietnam?
Yeah, I was born in October So I had just turned 19. And I remember the first, whenever we got to Da Nang, waiting on our orders, and that's where they split me and him up, me and Charles Ray. And a truck pulled up and had about 6 Marines in the back of it. And they hollered my name, and I threw my duffel bag up on there and climbed on. And we were heading out, and these guys were locking and loading. And I was sitting on the back, up against the back of the cab with this sergeant. And this sergeant had a long handlebar mustache and an older gentleman, weather-beaten face, gleam in his eyes. And we're riding. I said, man, what's up? And they said, well, we're going through the bush. We might draw far. And I thought, wow, I don't even have a rifle yet. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
So the sergeant said, you just getting here? I said, yeah. I said, how about you? He said, I'll be leaving in 30 days. I said, be good to get back stateside, won't it? He said, I'm retiring from the Marine Corps in 30 days, and I'm not going back to the States. I bought me an island. I couldn't tell you how many times in my life I thought about that guy. I thought, man, he knew. He knew. He'd been around so much, he knew better than to even come back here.
Yeah.
Or to go around civilized people. He was probably, from my take, you know, because I had spent a lot of my life wanting to live alone, you know, to maybe a far watch in a forest somewhere, you know, up where I could see everybody, you know, I could, paranoid, PTSD. So he was impressive to me. Anyway, got in with my squad, and when you first get there, when we went to Okinawa, I remember them saying, don't go around the NCO clubs around people coming back from Vietnam, because they'll kill you. And I thought, well, that's kind of crazy. Yeah, because you're stupid. Yeah, they're already numb, you know. And I thought that was kind of, well, I understand that. I finally understood what all that meant. Anyway, you know, to get your squad to like you, you got to fit in, you know. And so my first patrol was, we were going out to guard a caterpillar that was down the road right out our front gate, dirt road. And that night, I ate in the mess hall, and apparently I had food poison, because, you know, I probably threw up 15 times and dumped 17 times or something. Man, I was all over the place. I ain't getting no sleep, and I drank water, and I was dehydrated, and green stuff would come out of me. Oh. And so, you know, I told my squad leader the next morning, I said, man, there's something wrong with me. So he went and told the platoon sergeant. We fell out for formation, you know, to get our orders for the day. And the sergeant looked at me in front of everybody. He said, God damn it, boy, you ain't sick. You're just fucking scared. And, well, you know, I was scared, but hell, you know, it wasn't stopping me. And I threw green stuff up on his boots. And he said, get this man to first aid. And so they run a saltwater IV through me for 3 days. And then I was sitting in there thinking, oh, man, you know, no telling what they think of me and all this. So when I got out of that, they needed some volunteers. They were asking for volunteers to join the squad and go out and get shot at. And so I did that. I volunteered. And, you know, so I fit in. So all you had to do to fit in is go out and get shot at and shoot back, and you were in. And man, you talk about tight. I had never had that tightness in life.
Yeah.
And I read a lot trying to understand. I think Love is Understanding. That was the lyrics in a Moody Blues song a long time ago. Love is Understanding. So trying to understand my life is an act of love to me, and then I can understand other people better. But the fitting in, okay, when people leave wars and they go back, it's not that they want the war. It's not that they want to fight. They miss the camaraderie.
Yes.
Because you don't get no tighter.
Yeah, I talked about it in a couple episodes before. Like, ever since when I got out, like I was searching for that tightness,
Yeah.
and I
yeah.
never found it.
Yeah,
Then-
no kidding.
Then I realized I'll never find it.
And I understand it a little bit, not that it was near the same level, but playing football and
Yeah.
being on a team in college and bleeding and sweating and going through all that together.
Yeah.
You know,
Achieving
like I got a
something,
little
yeah.
taste of it, that being a part of something bigger than myself, because I've always been a very selfish person, and I had a chance to feel what it was like to be part of that, and to kind of lose that selfishness for a cause, you know. And so, you know, I've seen guys in the military who don't know each other at bars or someplace, and they'll sit
Gravitate.
like they've known each other their whole
Yeah.
lives, you know.
Yeah.
So
That's what I'm
it
saying.
is a
Once,
cool.
once you figure out somebody's a veteran, it's like, yeah, if anything goes down, it's me and you,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
me, or us, right?
All right.
So that's anytime you go out anywhere, you find a veteran.
Well, you know,
find a
as,
couple of them.
as my life went on, I got into the drug culture, you know, and I got to hang around them people. And in my denseness of it all, you can sure tell the difference between people who sign on the dotted line and those other people because they're so selfish. And so, you know, signing on a dotted line is an unselfish act. There's a quote out of it. And, you know, the camaraderie you're talking about, football, I get it. You're right. And there's a quote in the Bible somewhere up in there, is no greater than he who has laid his life down for his friends. That's it.
Yeah.
And just that thought helped carry me through life, because I dropped down in some deep, heavy stuff
Yeah.
as my life went on. Anyway, them guys like me.
Yeah.
Man, they like me, boy. And it felt good. It felt good to fit in. And, you know, man, it was good.
That's
And
what I was
we
going
go
to ask
out.
you. Did you feel like because going through school, you said you never fit
Yeah,
in.
I
You
never
never wanted to be
connected.
there.
Never connected because I was disconnected. Because
Yeah.
once again, trauma makes you disconnect from
So
your body.
this got you connected.
Yeah, you connected right there.
Right there,
It's
yeah.
the first time I ever feel connected. Reading Peter A. Levine's book, Waking the Tiger, was good. And
That's a good title.
anyway, when you get traumatized, you're disconnected from your body, and you disconnect. You don't connect with your family. You don't connect with hardly anything.
Yeah.
But over there, I feel connected. I mean, man, it was deep. It was good. Yeah.
And so when I got back from Iraq, we were there for about 6 months, and we got orders again to go back, but I got orders to be a recruiter for the Army, recruiter for the Army. So I tried to get out of the recruiting, and they said if I denied those orders, I wouldn't be able to re-enlist, and if I couldn't re-enlist, I couldn't go with my unit. But there was a part of me, you know, guilt because they were going and I wasn't going. But there was a part of me a big part of me that wanted to go to Iraq instead of staying stateside. And not because I want to get shot at, but it's because you just went through that with your guys, and they're going again. It's like, man, I want to go back. I'm ready, right? But hindsight, I probably wasn't ready, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's really ready to go and do that, but
That shows you the strength of that feeling we're talking about.
Yeah.
The fact that you were willing
like
to.
I would get shot for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I wanted to do, and I felt guilt because I didn't get the chance to get
Yeah.
shot.
Well, you know, survivor's guilt is hell.
Yeah.
Guilt. They say if you feel guilty, you will punish yourself.
Yep.
Guilt and punishment go hand in hand. There used to be a bumper sticker somewhere in the world that said "Screw guilt," you know,
Yeah.
or the Catholic guilt trip. You know, or I don't want to go there, but yeah, guilt. You know, so learning about all this stuff and how to overcome it and be all right with yourself. It's a journey. It's a long journey.
Yeah.
And it took a long time to even get started on it because you don't even know you're twisted. Like when I got back, I had PTSD, but I don't know it.
Yeah.
You don't know it.
So how long was you over in country?
8.5 months. I got medevaced out because when I was a kid, I had what they call I had a hole in my eardrum, swimmer's ear, and they took me to Louisville and cut my ear open, laid it open, went in there and patched it. Well, when I was in Nam, I used to get holes in my eardrum, left ear. And they got to where they could patch it with something like cigarette paper. They could just go through the ear canal and fix it. And I had, I don't know how many holes in that eardrum, repeatedly, you know, one, and then another one. And then one day, I was out in the bush. I've been there 8.5 months, and a helicopter landed, and they hollered my name, and they said, "You're getting out of here." And it was for that.
You had no clue.
Yeah, I didn't have a clue, and you know, I didn't feel good about that, you know, because people was getting shot. You know what I mean? And they're letting me out of the bush over my ear. But that's the way that went. I mean, you know,
Did it affect you? Like, I mean, was it? I mean, obviously it affected you. You got a hole in your eardrum, but
yeah,
like,
I got a pretty good hearing loss.
Yeah.
I got hearing aids, and I'm tone deaf and tendonitis and all that business. In the left ear, it goes down pretty good, 30%.
Yeah.
I just had an MRI to see if I had because my hearing loss is dropping faster in the left ear. Because when you get old, it kind of drops equally in both ears, so it's dropping so fast in the left ear. So the doctor over to VA in Evansville said, "Well, you know, you might have a tumor on your hearing nerve, a benign tumor or something." He said, "You know, 1 in 100 gets that." He said, "You probably don't have it. I don't know, and you're old, so don't worry about it." And I thought, well, all right, okay. And then a couple of weeks later, somehow or another, I turned that benign tumor into a brain tumor. And I thought, man, I don't want no damn brain tumor. So I signed up for an MRI. My God, Lord have mercy. I felt like I was in a firefight because you get in one of them things, man, it's noise. It's bam, 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 brrr, brrr. I was in there thinking, man, I was reliving a firefight pretty good. And they pull you out after 15 minutes. I told them, I said, "Hey, you know, I had another 15 minutes to go." I said, "Do we got to do this other one?" And anyway, I said, all right. And it was.
It's a tight space too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
It's
a tunnel.
claustrophobic.
Yeah.
I wasn't claustrophobic, but you know, all that noise, man. It's like it was just like it. Normally I like that kind of stuff, but I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
you had no control over it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Noise was, but you know, a firefight is like M16s pop when they go off,
Yeah.
and bullets when they zing overhead and they buzz by your ears, different elevations, zinging and buzzing and popping, and AK-47s crack, and mortar rounds whistle, and the radio man hollering, you know, he's all freaked out on the radio, and somebody's hollering, I'm hit, and I smell gunpowder. And man, I'm gonna tell you what, your adrenaline is so maxed out.
Yeah.
You know,
imagine.
you don't get no higher than that. And then the next thing you know, you're walking down the street in California, and you ain't got a clue. Nothing's
Man,
gonna
that's
work.
crazy.
Yeah.
And I talk about this all the time. Like we were talking about my stepdad who was in Vietnam. Never talked about it, but when I got back from when we got back from Iraq, you know, you going through school history books, you hear about it, right? Soldiers coming back from Vietnam that weren't welcome back, you know, and,
Right.
And that's your fear coming back. It's like, am I gonna fit in? Like we just went through hell, right? And they, like my family, my friend, they don't know. They don't know what it's like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Even somebody that goes over there and they don't get shot at,
Mm-hmm. Right.
you still go through hell,
Right.
Because you don't know. You don't know if that person driving down the road is going to shoot you or not. So it's that tense. You're always tense, right? So when we're coming back, you know, a bunch of us were like, man, what's going to happen when we get back and all this stuff. And we flew into Bangor, Maine. And we got into Maine, and there was literally 75 people, veterans, old guys, old heads, right? They were there standing there with flags. welcome everybody back. Man, I got cold chills right now just thinking about it, like the sight of it, and a lot of them are crying. They have no clue who we are. Like
Yeah.
we were from Oklahoma,
Yeah.
and these people in Maine were crying because we came back. Greatest feeling, and I'm so sorry y'all didn't get that, but
Yeah.
that's what it needs. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Like to serve your country and to honor your veterans and your soldiers.
Yeah.
I think everybody should, and I think they
Yeah.
should do it again. I mean, people that didn't get that,
Yeah.
give it to them now.
Well, like
Every time you meet them.
when I was a kid, it's like I told you, watching the television, confetti out the window
Yeah.
when Johnny comes. Yeah, man, you didn't get that. One bar I was in up in D.C. My last duty station was Quantico, Virginia. We go up to Georgetown, and these three girls are sitting across from us, and there's 3 Marines and 3 girls. And
That's good odds right there.
Yeah. and looked pretty good. I mean, you know what I mean? We bought them a drink, and one of them said, "What do y'all do for a living?" I said, "We work for the government." They said, "What branch of the service are you in?" I said, "Marine Corps." They said, "Ooh, baby eaters," and got up and left. I thought, what the hell? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I was in a treatment center in 1985. Yeah, and I didn't even know I had this stuff in me.
Yeah.
And I was telling my life story, and I went through Vietnam pretty quick and got in the next big scenario of my life. And the group leader said, "Wayne, go back to Vietnam and talk about that," because he saw some emotion that I just skipped over.
Yeah.
And I went back and started talking about Vietnam, my buddies, and all that stuff getting killed. And man, it felt like a bathtub full of tears inside me that was just getting ready to spill out right now. It was really freaky because I had never felt it. I didn't even know it was in there.
Yeah.
And this young kid said, "Wayne, could I ask you a question?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Did you eat human flesh when you were in Nam?" I said, "No, motherfucker, we had sea rations." So anyway, they stopped it. The group leader stopped it. They just stopped the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
And the next day, I had that kid up in a corner choking him. I said, "You thank me, you mother." Anyway, they said, "You need to go to the veterans. You need to go to the vet center." And so they got me hooked up to a vet center, and over in Cincinnati. And that's the first time I've been around any military.
Since you left, or
Yeah, since I left, because I didn't get a honorable discharge. I got a undesirable discharge because I came home on a 10-day leave, and I got off into drugs. All right, yeah, that's what I did, and I liked them. And I drank before I went, so I found drugs, and it's all good. Anyway, I had some heroin, and came home on a 10-day leave and run out of dope. And I don't know. I didn't want to go home. I didn't know what to do with myself. So I broke in a drugstore and got caught. And so, I went back to the military, and I was in a state of straightening up again, wow, man, and I came home, went to court, and they gave me 2 years, and sent me to Eddyville, and there's another culture shock, and 2 weeks after I got out of Eddyville, I got a undesirable discharge in the mail. And, like I said, I've been kicked out of high school, Boy Scouts, all that stuff. I just took that discharge and threw it in the air like it wasn't no big deal and kept on going. But it was a big deal.
yeah.
It's all a big deal. But, I don't know none of this. I'm still rolling. I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue about life. I don't know nothing. And that PTSD that was buried in me didn't come out all the time.
Yeah.
But when it did come, it would come out in the form of rage sometimes, and, like if your mother were to come up on you, like right then and there, she could say, "Who are you?" where's my son?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's man right there. So my mom always, she said that I moved back in 16. I was in California. That's how I met my wife and everything. Check out episode number 12. You can get the whole shebang there.
It's a good one.
Okay.
But anyways, so I got out of the military, stayed in California for 11 years, whatever it was, and then finally decided to move back home because of my wife. My wife said, "Let's move to Kentucky," and I was hesitant. I'm like, "What for? There's nothing in Kentucky, right?" And but I was having real bad PTSD, or anxiety, and all this stuff, and I couldn't control it. I didn't know how to control it, right? Until I got to talking to some people and stuff. And my mom said something to me that kind of it hit me in the face. And she said, "You know, one thing that might be causing it is you never came home."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
I thought she meant to Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What do you mean come home? Like I'm home. I'm home now, right?" And she's like, "No." She's like, "When you left for the military and when you left for Iraq," she's like, "You're a totally different person when you came back." She's like, "The Brian that I knew, he never came home."
Right.
But it hit me. I'm like, man.
Yeah.
And that's when it kind of started making sense, like what you're saying. You don't know what your body's going through, like the PTSD and all that stuff until you know, right? Until you you know, you learn yourself and you learn why you're doing all this stuff. But I don't know, just it hit me. It hit me hard. Like, man, I didn't. Like, I was a totally different person when I came back.
I remember a lot of conversations in Nam would be like, what you gonna do when you get back stateside?
Yeah.
And you got this preconceived idea because it was this way when you left. It ain't gonna be nothing like you think it is.
No.
Because you have changed and you don't know it.
Yeah. You have a different set of eyes you're coming home with.
Yeah.
Right?
So, Wayne, let me ask you this question. You mentioned the firefight and your buddies, and I've heard you tell the story before, and I think it's helpful to talk about some stuff. But weren't you in a group of like 14 or 15 guys, and you were the only one that made it out?
Well, it was more than that, but my squad okay. Whenever I got the undesirable discharge, I went south, all up in that world of drugs and alcohol and all that business. So I didn't mess with military people at all. And it wasn't until one time the traveling wall was coming through Owensboro, and I went to it. And grief counselors suggested I write a letter to my buddies. And I sat down and wrote, I don't know, it took about 3 days, a poem come out of me. It's a really healing poem. But, if you back up, your squad is tight. So it's, and we went out on patrols every night. Every night we go out and walk and come in at daybreak and eat breakfast and get some shut-eye and get up and peel around, maybe throw a football or something. And just do that. So it wasn't nothing real serious. I mean, we got in a few nickel-dime firefights here and there, and going out on battalion-size operations. I was in the 5th Marines, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, 1st Marine Division, and the Ho Chi Minh swore a personal vendetta against the 5th Marines because they messed up the Ho Chi Minh Trail. And when I first got there, we were going out on search and destroy missions. I mean, it wasn't good. Yeah. Anyway, so it wasn't a whole lot of stuff going on. And then February the 2nd, 1968, was the beginning of Tet Offensive for us. And there was a platoon of us, a little over 40 people. And we were coming out of a Arvin compound. And Arvin compound is South Vietnamese soldiers, and we give them all this concertina wire and sandbags and weapons, and we're here to help them. And so there was maybe 13 or 15 of them in there. We've been in this place a bunch of times on patrols, and in the village up ahead, which is in the Quang Nam province, which is about 5 miles south of Da Nang, out in the bush. And anyway, it's sun up, and we're going down Highway 1, which is a dirt road that runs through Vietnam, and it goes right through this village, this friendly village. And it kind of looked like a roadblock up there, you know. The only thing they got for furniture is something that resembles a coffee table. They sit on the floor and everything. And point man run into a landmine. He didn't trip it, but, you know, when you run into that stuff, everybody gets down, and you don't know how long you're going to be there. So we got down on the side of the road, and the road was up, you know, maybe 3 or 4 foot high. And so we're down off the side of the road. They're messing around up here. And all of a sudden, all over this village, you could hear these cans and pans be like bang, 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 bong, bong, bang, 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 bong, bong, bang, bang, all over this village. And you're like, man, what the hell? And me and my partner, Jan, we was like, wow, what the hell's going on? And these civilians started coming up on Highway 1. Mama son, Papa son, baby son. It's old men, old women with them slow tats and black pajamas. And there was, I don't know, over 50, maybe 75. And they were all up there in front of the village, real nervous and everything, mumbling, jumbling, and these pans and cans are going on, and we're down on the side of the road, you know, and it's all happening pretty fast. And then these 2 machine guns that was set up in this roadblock, we didn't know, just opened up on this crowd of people, and these people just start running. And they're running out through rice paddies, and you could touch them. They was going back down the road, and after they cleared out, me and my partner ran across the road because you could have better cover over there. And we started returning far and trying to figure this out. And then we come back across the road. There was people laying on the road dead, and some of them wounded, and people running through rice paddies. And these pans and cans never did let up. And so we was in an intense firefighting that day. And I was running around helping a medic. A medic hollered for help, I'd run over and help him. I remember one Marine was, I was holding some plasma up for him, and he'd been shot in the back. We didn't know that, but he was treating a chest wound, and he died. And anytime a medic hollered, one of them hollered, and he said, need a fire team up front. And so I was fire team leader, which you have 3 men, 4 of you in a fire team. And I had one guy. And I told him, I said, come on. And we went up there, and there was 2 dead Marines. And he said, get these men out of here. Get them back to safety. And so we're kneeling down in the dirt, and it's happening, you know. It's a firefight, it's going on. And the guy with me, he was a big old boy, and he freaked out. He said, he's dead. And that medic smacked him. He said, goddamn right, he's dead. Now get him the fuck out of here. And he turned around and took off. He found somewhere to get down. And anyway, I grabbed Newcomb by his wrist and was dragging him. And I drug him back over here where nobody could get him. And anyway, we fought all that day, and they got away in the night. And that was the end of that firefight. And then 4 days later, and Newcomb and this other cat was the only ones that got killed in that firefight. And 4 days later, our squad is on loan to another platoon to help them fill up. And so you don't really know these people, you know what I mean? You're with your squad, that's your family. So anyway, there was 14 gooks in this tree line. Here's what I heard. I heard the lieutenant say that there's an estimated 14 gooks in this tree line, and they're out by our garbage dump, right out our gate. You know, our garbage dump is over a little bit. And there's a road that goes out the front gate all the way down. On one side of the tree line, there's a rice paddy on the other side of the tree line, and across the rice paddy is a bridge. And some Marines were on that bridge, and they were having conflict with the people in the tree line. So the game plan was we were going on the back side of the tree line, and these Marines were going to get on a line and assault across the rice paddy and chase them out the back side of the tree line. And maybe that tree line went 2 football fields deep and at least a football field wider. And so anyway, the only thing that came out was a water buffalo, and we shot it. So we came back around the front of the tree line because that didn't work. And so we're going to assault the front of the tree line. And there's about, according to the writings about all this, there's about 70, a little over 70 Marines. And they don't mention the 14 gooks, but I heard that. And so when we pulled around to the front of the tree line, there was a tank that shoots fire out the barrel and a dead Marine on a 30 caliber up there. And I remember thinking, 14 of them, damn, boy, they must be some bad motherfuckers. And so we sit down, and they called napalm in on them. So they had 2 jets flying in a 612 pattern, dropping napalm on this tree line. And we're sitting back over here in the cut, and I remember thinking distinctly, man, I'm from the greatest country in the world. Don't mess with us, you know. And then after the jets dropped that napalm, we got online and assaulted the tree line. And we walked into an L-shaped ambush. There was a whole battalion of NVA up in there, and they were dug in. They had 6 trenches dug, one behind the other one, because we don't know all this yet. And how they survived the napalm, they had a trench dug, and they had a little cave dug out up off the lip of the floor, and they would get up in that little cave and wait that napalm out. Tough people. So anyway, we're assaulting the tree line, and I fired out 3 clips of ammunition. I kept 18 rounds in the clip because 20 rounds might make the spring too tight.
Jam it, yep.
And so, and the third clip I fired out, and you know, we're all on line walking, and you know, you're shooting, and I'm lock and loading, and I'm shooting, and you're lock and loading. So there's always a wall of lead in front of us. And the third magazine, the seam busted open inside the chamber of the rifle, and I hit the release button. I couldn't get out. And you know, it's adrenaline, you know. So there was a medic he had a flesh wound in his arm. So I went over and I put the butt of the M16 on the ground and held the stock with my left hand, told him to hit the release button, and then I jerked it out. And I had to do all that to get that magazine. I couldn't seem to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And then I slammed a fresh clip in and got up. And while I was down on that knee, it didn't take more than 60 seconds, less than 60 seconds to do all that. Everybody to the right of me got shot. They had a 50 set up over there, and 50 caliber. And so I dropped back behind the tank with 2 other Marines. And we was shooting logs up in the tree line and all that. And, man, it was going on. But you don't see everything. So they called us back. You know, it's too much. So we backed off and waited for reinforcements. And when we were waiting for reinforcements, I was helping a medic load up the wounded and the dead. And there was 53 Marines got shot and 11 got killed. We got 107 NVA out of that firefight. And anyway, I'm loading, helping him load people up. I remember the medic saying, if a 50 caliber hits you, if it don't tear off what it hit, like your leg, they're going to have to cut it off. I remember that conversation. And anyway, I looked down and I saw, I didn't know my squad had got shot.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know. I looked down and I saw my partner. It's me and this guy, we clicked. Oh, man, you never click with somebody like that. And his name was Jan. He was from Jacksonville, cowboy, and a good dude. Anyway, he was laying there dead. His back was blowed off and part of his face. And but how I knew it was him, he wore a cowboy belt. He had that rebel in him. He had a leather cowboy belt instead of a Marine belt. And whenever I saw his body, I don't know, sadness came over me. And I was saying a prayer for him, you know. I know that's not the Marine thing to do, but that's what I was doing. And this lieutenant in charge of all this, the one I heard say there was 14 gooks in the tree line, run over and started yelling at me for that, you know. And And I looked up at him. I said, "You dirty son of a bitch," you know. He just disrespecting me, and you know. Oh man, that went with me a lot in life. Man, I hated authority all over again from that. And then more things happened. You know, other lieutenants, not all of them, but some. But so those two firefights. And then, so we fought all that day. And they got away in the night. I stayed in a foxhole with a guy with a machine gun. We shot up in that tree line all night, and they were going on. They had a plane that takes pictures at night. You can't hear it, but you can see it flash. And so that's how they know there was a battalion. And they caught 2 Marines, and one of them got away. A couple of days later, and Sergeant Koch got to talk to him. And the conversation he had with him is what he told us, that they had these 2 Marines, and one of them had been shot and the other one hadn't, so they just shot him in the shoulder to weaken him. And one had been shot also in his finger. His finger was dangling or something. And they cut his finger off with a pair of scissors, and he passed out. And when he came to, they were arguing over food. They had some Viet Cong kids. If a kid's big enough to carry a weapon, they confiscate them, give them an ultimatum. You shoot them people or we're killing you. And so they were arguing over food, and he crawled off. He started backing out of that, and he got up and took off running, and he run up on an American unit, a CAC unit, and they started shooting at him, but they didn't hit him. Anyway, he got out of that mess, but that's what his story was. And anyway, the next day when I was in my tent, that's when I realized that everybody was, I thought they were all dead, but they all got shot. And it wasn't until about 14 years ago that I actually talked to these other 2 guys that didn't get killed and heard their version of that firefight. And one of them was funny. So he sees a gook raise up, and he threw a grenade at him. And a sergeant hollered at him, said, "Marine, you're supposed to holler grenade when you throw a fucking grenade." And he remembered thinking, who in the fuck is this motherfucker? And that gook raised up again with a rocket and fired it and blew that sergeant away. And this guy got knocked out with, he got hit with shrapnel and body parts. And that guy's head hit him and knocked him out. And when he told me that on the phone, I said, "Wow, man, that's got to be the ultimate headache." Anyway, him and another guy crawled off and left the firefight. They went back to the unit. And I thought, damn, you could do that? Anyway.
I didn't get that memo.
Yeah.
So the next day, I'm alone in my tent. And I always had a pretty good attitude in life. I used to sign my letters Happy-Go-Lucky Wayne. And that's the first time I ever felt depression, because, and loneliness, it was intense. And so I stayed in my tent, for days. And they told me, they said, "If you got $200, we'll let you go to Hong Kong for early R&R. You need to be in country 6 months to go on R&R, rest and recuperation." But I had $200, and so I've been there 3 months. They said November, December, not even 3 months, February the 6th, 68. So I went to Hong Kong and made friends with 2 bartenders at the Whiskey A Go-Go, and I had me a girl, and that was my treatment.
How long was you on R&R?
5 days.
5 days.
Yeah.
And you got 2 best friends and a girlfriend.
Yeah.
In that 5 days.
And the bartenders were really neat, and I was sitting there flicking a Zippo lighter, and they wanted to see it, and they were ooh and ahhing over this Zippo lighter, like, "Oh man, we had to work for a month to get that." I said, "Well, you can have it." They couldn't believe it. Well, they got me sober and drunk for the next 2 days for nothing.
You said sober and drunk.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So those 2 firefights, and then I remember when I came back into No, I'm flying on TWA from Hong Kong. I was thinking, man, what's going on around here? You know, who told you there was 14 goose in the tree line? And how come you don't know napalm don't work on these people? You know what I mean? I started getting like that with it, you know.
You started questioning it.
Yeah, I thought, man, what's really going on? And so my heart wasn't in it like it used to be, but I was still there, and I still went out and, you know, got in other shit storms, made another buddy, Loza out of Richmond, Texas, a Mexican. Me and him was tight, and we'd set up camp every night, and he had what made he would cook, and I'd set up the camp. What made him a good cook is he had a bottle of Louisiana hot sauce. Doctor it all that ham and eggs crap up. And anyway, we was good buddies, and we was a battalion of us on an operation one time. We walking in a village that had been bombed, and there wasn't nothing left to it, and great big craters in the ground. And we set up a perimeter in this village, like 300 of us, and they're walking mortar rounds in on us, and they're over in a tree line, and they're getting their gauge right, you know. So it's going to be a while before they get to where we are, and we were sitting on a board that goes across the water buffalo hole, and so they keep water buffalo in the ground. So they dig a slope, a big hole in the ground with a slope, and that's how they keep the water buffalo, because it's kind of cool down there. And there was a board across there, so Loza's facing this way, and I'm facing this way, and we're sitting there, and it was probably about 120 degrees, and if you used your imagination, you know, you could feel a breeze. And so we were just going to hang out there, and when the mortar rounds got close, we're going to jump in this hole. That's our game plan. And it was a good plan. And we were sitting there, minding our own business, and it sounded like a cap pistol went off. And that bullet went right by me and got Loza right in the gut. And he fell over in the hole. And I said, oh, man. I jumped down there, and Loza, come on, man. Got him up out of the hole, and Marines came, and in the excitement of it all, I thought the bullet might have came from over there. There was a tree line right across the rice paddy, so we spent a bunch of money in that direction. And this gook was tied off in a tree. He was on a suicide mission. And they say one grenade will get y'all when you're carrying a wounded person. But we had a medevac chopper coming, and there was a little bit of shade over here. There was part of a hut still standing, and just a taste of shade. And we're going to pick Loza up and carry him over to that hut. And we picked him up, and that gook shot Loza 2 more times. It was like, crack, crack. And Loza went, and he got 3 Purple Hearts, and he got the hell out of there. And
So he lived.
yeah, he lived. He got 3 Purple Hearts. And he's one that I talked to.
He's still alive.
Yeah, I guess he is now. That was back around, because I had some addresses, and I would call these numbers from time to time. You never get nowhere. Somewhere around 1990 or somewhere, I called that phone number, and his mama answered the phone, and I said, is Richard around? And he was there. And I thought, my God, man, I can't believe it. You know, somebody I was in Vietnam with. And anyway, we were talking, and he ended up in a federal joint out in Oklahoma. He said there wasn't nothing but buffalo shit around there for miles.
That's true.
You know, out in the middle of nowhere for messing with the pot. He got dealing pounds of pot or something. And I got excited talking to him, and I mentioned that. And he dummied up, and the conversation ended.
Really?
Yeah. So.
I mean, you probably get that. I mean, just like my stepdad, you know, people don't want to talk about it.
Right. Yeah. I remember being in a circle or whatever with people saying, man, you going to tell anybody about all this shit when you get home? Hell no. Why not? Because they won't believe you.
They wouldn't believe if you tried. So after all that, I mean, and we've talked about, you know, your yoga and almost like you're, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but not that you got peace with it all, or you got peace with yourself?
Yeah, I got some inner peace because that's the goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal of life, is to find that most valuable peace. I find. I had a card over in Vietnam. It was around Christmas time or something. I wish I still had it. It was a soldier kneeling down, praying, and he had his rifle, his hard hat on his rifle, and the capture said, "Soldiers pray for peace more than anybody." And so I haven't been a peaceful person by a long shot, but whenever I first started getting sober, 39 years ago, I went through the 12 steps to the best of my ability, and then something happened to me. I had a spiritual awakening, a spiritual experience, and energy changed, and man, people were friendly, and the sky was blue, and the trees were green, and something happened to me, and it was enough to cause me to want to go deeper into that realm.
Yeah.
And so I was coming out of it, and it's taken a long, long time to get to where I'm at now, and it's been pretty twisted, just trying to live in this world. And
That 12-step journey that you talked about I had that happen where kind of developed new eyes for the world. My perspectives changed, and all that negativity I was living with and frustration, and we call it irritable, restless discontent. As addicts, alcoholics, we have that about us, and the 12 steps changed my life in that way as well. Just gave me fresh perspective on the world, man. New eyes to see the world with. And I
Right.
still have a lot of work to do, and I stay in literature and books and stuff. But there's something to that, man. That's glad to hear you say that, because that spiritual awakening as a result of the 12 steps, it helps a lot of people. And nobody knows it, and has lived it more than Wayne.
Well, yeah, I'm not anybody special. I've just been really twisted and have to work at that.
Well, you've been around and you've helped a lot of people. I know that.
Well,
Some
okay,
of the toughest, and,
I wrote this thing when I got a poem here I'd like to share if you
Yeah,
don't
for
mind.
sure. Yeah, I want
But
you to read it.
I wrote a thing one time called "I'm a Soldier," and that's kind of the way I was looking at recovery. I mean, once a Marine, always Marine.
Yeah.
Once a soldier, always a soldier. And the war is here. It's helping people wake up. It's helping people get a life. It's overcoming adversity in all forms. I remember that when I was in the healing place up in Louisville, there was a statue of Thomas Jefferson, and on one side of the statue it said, "Upon the altar of God I have sworn eternal hostility toward any tyranny of the mind of man." Man, I used to read that every morning when I was walking to a class, and it'd sink in here, Yeah, there's lots of tyranny out here.
Yeah,
So, you're still at war. You're still a soldier,
for sure.
That's the way I look at it.
And so I found peace in my faith, right? So I dive into the Bible. I try to learn the Bible. I rely on Jesus, but I know everybody has a different form of it, right? Some use yoga, some find the inner peace, some find whatever. I truly believe that, and like you just said, you got to find your inner peace,
Yeah.
whichever way you can, without using alcohol and drugs and all that stuff.
Right.
But
Well, I
yeah,
mean, Jesus is the master of peace.
yeah,
And my peace I give you, my peace I leave with you. Yeah, he was the Prince of Peace, and I get that. I study it. I pray and meditate every morning.
yeah.
I don't leave home without it. I meditate before I come here, and I've been meditating for about 15 years, pretty deep.
Wayne, tell us about these Vipassana retreats. Tell us what that's like. You've gone on several of those, right?
Yeah, 5. Well, I've been so twisted. I see other people come in and just get it, and they seem to be all right. And I could have periods of all rightness, but something keeps coming up and sabotaging. And I've had some relapses. Well, I don't relapse anymore, but I still get sabotaged, which makes me study harder.
Yeah.
You know, I hit the books. I don't care where you get it from. You just get it. And
Yeah.
the universe, God, sends me stuff in these different directions. So, you know, I became a reader. And every night of my life, I'd be reading, and New Year's nights, I'd be spending time with God, reading, praying, trying to understand, and all that. So one time I was reading a book about Vipassana meditation, and I was reading it, and I thought, man, that's it. That's it. You got to have that. And but I wasn't ready. A couple of years went by. I was 64, and my girlfriend left me, and I got diagnosed with prostate cancer. And they couldn't cut the prostate out because I got a bunch of scars from getting shot. I got shot with a 44 down in North Carolina, gut shot. And I spent 7 weeks in intensive care. And that was a night of rage. That was some of that PTSD coming one night, you know what I mean? I've had some of those nights pop up, and it's pretty intense. Anyway, back to the Vipassana, I filled out an application because I didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
They can't cut the prostate out. My girlfriend left me. I got a death sentence. I don't know, you know, if they tell you you got cancer and you don't know nothing about it, it's a death sentence until you start understanding. So I went, filled out an application and lied on it. I thought, well, they're not going to take you.
Yeah.
But I did tell them I was a Vietnam veteran, and they said, well, you know, some stuff is liable to come up, and you got to be able to deal with that. I said, I'm looking for it. I'm looking for it.
Yeah.
And they said, all right. So I went down to Jessup, Georgia on a 10-day retreat. And so the first 3.5 days, I don't know how to sit. I don't know nothing. And I'm sitting on a cushion. They got cushions and all that. And the first 3.5 days, they want you to focus on your breath right here at your nose and the corners of your mouth, right in that area. And that's to build up your powers of concentration. And the rest of the 10 days, they want you to do body scans. So you go from the top of your head all the way down to the tip of your toes and back. And that's it, over and over and over, that right there. And what happens is when you go down through there, you're going to hit, because your body keeps score, right? Okay, all this trauma is buried in your body. And so you're going down through your body, and you're hitting the sore spots. You're hitting maybe your back hurts or your leg hurts. And if you lay in there with it a little bit, thought patterns pop up out of it. And and you don't give them much more than 10 seconds. You know, you just acknowledge them. They need to be acknowledged. You know, they need to be seen. And so, you know, I'm traveling up and down through my body, and I don't really know what I'm doing. About the third day there, I'm thinking, you know, you need a psychiatrist.
Because it's 10, these Vipassana meditation, it's 10 days basically of sitting and meditating, no talking to anybody.
Yeah, no talking, no looking nobody in the
10
eye.
days. Yeah.
Yeah,
Man.
they call it noble silence. And there was 3 guys sitting in front of me that were sitting there like statues.
Did y'all like smirk at each other? Like across the way, do
Yeah.
like I got something.
Well, okay, so on the second half of the 9th day, they break noble silence and you can talk. And those guys were saying, yeah, we could hear you back there. Because I'm back there struggling, man, it's crazy. And even guys turned out to be yoga instructors, which really impressed me. And I'm a yoga instructor today. That had a little something to do with it. Because yoga is all about learning how to get strong enough to sit still so you can get into samadhi, which is blitz, which is feel good. You know, you feel good. Anyway, the 4th day or so up into that retreat, you could sign up for a question at 4:30 in the morning, and at noon you could go see the instructor, and it was an Indian, a guy from India. And I'm glad it was a man there. And so I saw some older people sitting on the wall in the back. You know, they could lean up against the wall. And they even give some of them chairs. And so anyway, I signed up and went and told the guy, I said, my back hurts. He said, everybody's back hurts. I said, everybody's? He said, yeah, everybody's. I said, all right, all right. So I went back there and rolled it out. And about maybe the 5th day or something, this was the highlight of that whole retreat, because I don't know what I'm doing. And so I'm from my neck up, it feels pretty good. From the neck down, it's just a lot of trouble down there. It's a lot of pain, and I don't want to go down in there. And the thought came, man, why don't you go down there and give that some love? And so I went traveling down through my body, and I got scars all over me from all kinds of crap, car wrecks. Man, it's really crazy. And cracked ribs, whatever. So I'm traveling down through my body, apologizing to each wound, and that felt pretty good. And I came back up, and then I went back down through my body. I really admired my body. I started giving it respect, because it's still carrying me, and it's taking everything my ego could throw at it, and it's still
It's
packing
got
me
so
around.
many stories.
Yeah.
So many stories.
But I'm gonna do this poem if you don't mind.
Yeah, hit it up.
Okay, is that all right there?
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, so this is those two firefights, and I wrote this after the traveling wall came, which is a healing poem for me. To my first squad. I went to Nam, far away from home. I was assigned to a squad, so I wasn't alone. We lived in a tent. It wasn't much to see, but our bond was Nam tight, you and me. High school was one thing, but in Nam was another. There in Nam, you were my brother. The stories we told, the states we were from, Kentucky, Florida, New York for some, Wisconsin, L.A., and Chi-Town too. When we got together, we were a crew. We beat the bush night after night, looking for them gooks to fight. We'd run into some every now and then, get our adrenaline up, and we would win. Sea rations we ate, we slept on the ground, waiting for our rotation date to come around. At times we'd be hungry and the conversations would flow to milkshakes, Dairy Queens, and hamburgers to go. When it rained, you could never stay dry. We just humped the bush and never asked why. On February the 2nd, 1968, 300 MVA were not far from our gate. It was the Tet Offensive, and to our surprise, they killed a lot of civilians right before our eyes, mowed them down with machine guns, women, children, and old men. My mind thought, what a great sin. We fought all that day. They got away in the night. We lost 2 Marines in the first part of the fight. One name I don't remember, the other I do. His name was Wayne Paul Newcomb, a good Marine too. Now it was February the 6th, just 4 days away. That's the firefight that took all my friends away. We were told there was only 14 gooks in a tree line. Turned out to be 300. They really blew our minds. The first part of the firefight didn't last long. They kicked our ass and all my friends were gone. The next day, I sat alone in my tent. Confusion set in. I didn't understand this mess. The beat went on in the heat of Nam. I made new friends, but it wasn't the same as my first squad as we walked in the rain. I'm not sure why God has spared me to this day, but since Nam, it's been a crazy life in every way. For years I stayed high and drunk as I could be, me and my hatred for authority. And then one day it dawned on me, my friends died in vain, if this is all I'd ever be. So here's to my friends. They were brave and fought well. They were the best Marines this side of hell. A toast of pure water to you from me, and I want to thank you for always watching over me.
Amen.
How good was that? It's powerful.
So, yeah, that was, and my life is blessed. I mean, I should be dead a lot of times.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Well, Wayne,
thanks for sharing all that,
Yeah.
man. That's powerful. I could sit and listen for a long time. Grateful for the inspiration that you've given me through this recovery journey and towards yoga and spiritual growth. And keep on keeping on, man. You're helping people. I'm thankful for you. I know a lot of people are too. So.
For sure, and I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing. I know it's tough, but it's needed, right? You need to get it out, because I told you when I first messaged you,
yeah,
I was like, if there's one person out there that hears this podcast and they're going through that same struggle, like I don't like authority, or I'm into drugs and alcohol and all this stuff, if they can hear that there is a light, and that light is Wayne, then we've done our job with this podcast.
Thank you, and I thank you, Brian, for putting all this together. And Travis, man, y'all good people.
Travis has talked to me about you for probably 7 or 8 weeks. Like, hey, I got a guy.
Yeah,
I got a guy.
Yeah.
And it just didn't fall in line. And this week I was like, man, we got to get a veteran of the month. And I know a bunch of veterans, and I was like, man, I'm trying to think. And he's like, hey, I got a guy. And he's like, he's a yoga. I got the text of what he said.
Yeah.
But what did he say? A yoga motorcycle riding fellow or something.
Recovering. I don't remember how I said it.
Yeah, he put it away. I'm
I
like,
used the word biker in there because he likes his bike.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We're taking off Wednesday to go up to Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah.
Me and Chris Stover.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but keep doing what you're doing. We're gonna share it to different places. So if y'all want to reach out and get a hold of Wayne, I'm pretty sure he'd love to talk to you, or any one of us for that matters. Any last words?
No, thanks both of you guys. It was a good one.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it, fellas.
Thanks
Enjoyed
for the invite.
No problem. You're welcome back anytime.
As they say in Kentucky, namaste, y'all.
Tell my story.